Brought to you by Sip for Your Cause.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Nonprofits, programming where we share best practices to help nonprofit organizations improve their awareness, their effectiveness in terms of sustainability, their funding, and ultimately their impact. We want to thank our sponsor, Sip for Your Cause, for making this programming available and possible. You can reach them at www.sipforyourcause.org. And again, Sip for Your Cause is about providing nonprofit organizations the opportunity and funding and means to increase their funding, awareness, sustainability, and it's all about ultimately increasing impact. So visit them at sipforyourcause.org and support them while you support other nonprofit organizations. So today we are proud that we have with us Mr. Ed Zito, who is the board member of the American Kidney Service. And before we get into Ed and his organization, we would like to remind you to please reach out to us via our social media opportunities. You can find us at www.youtube.com/BizLinksTV. You can find us at facebook.com/BizLinksTV. And there are other episodes that you can tune in to watch, not only this episode, but others. So we invite you to share, comment, and engage with the content that you see. Reach out to our guests and see how you can get involved with making a difference. So Ed Zito, welcome to Let's Talk Nonprofits.
Good to be here.
Well, let me tell you, Ed and I have known each other by way of phone conversations, another for more than a year, but literally were just blessed a little more than a month ago to be at the same event where we actually saw each other face to face, and we committed to make this opportunity possible. I'm really glad that Ed is here because he and his organization really addresses a very serious health issue in the state of Georgia and in the nation, and also in the black community, but also communities at large. So we would really like for you to listen to this episode again. Please share this episode throughout your social media network. Talk about it within your churches and your mosque and your synagogues and other places of worship and gathering, so that we can really support the American Kidney Service in their efforts to make a difference in this deadly disease. So again, welcome, Ed. And before we get started, tell us about Ed Zito, the man.
Well, how much time do we have?
You have 10 seconds.
No, well, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, which means I've had some home runs and lots of strikeouts. That's the way of an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
But I got involved with the American Kidney Services about 4 or 5 years ago. I was invited to become a board member, and I hadn't had any experience with it before. But it's been an educational experience since, and I'm happy doing it.
Good. And, Ed, again, on our show, we tease out those nuggets that organizations can use and apply it to their nonprofit organization. And we'll come back and talk about your experience as a board member and some things that you think might be beneficial for other board members as they seek to make a difference. But before we get into that, one thing I found interesting when we met and began to discuss what you're doing, that the American Kidney Service and the American Kidney Fund, and I must admit, I think I had more awareness of the fund rather than the service. So please share, what's the difference?
Well, it is interesting that most people really don't know what the difference is. No matter how many times you try to explain it, a lot of times they put it all in the same category, and that's fine, really, because what we are, American Kidney Services, we're the Georgia partner for American Kidney Fund. Okay. American Kidney Fund is the national organization. We're the Georgia partner for the American Kidney Fund. And the American Kidney Fund itself is one of the top 3 charities in the country. So
that was rated by Consumer Report, correct?
Consumer Digest, that's right. And all the rating, Charity Navigator and Forbes and all of them, we have the top 5-star ratings of any of them. And all of them, as a matter of fact.
Do this, Ed, because a lot of people hear that and they really don't know how significant that is. So if you could just explain, why is that so important?
Well, people donate either money, in our case clothing, and no good part of the money doesn't go to helping people. That's why it's important. With the American Kidney Fund, 97 cents of every dollar goes to helping kidney patients with financial aid. We're, I say we, generally speaking, because we're the partners.
Yeah.
But the American Kidney Fund is the organization that does provides the additional financial aid for people. So if somebody needs dialysis and they can't afford it, well, we pay for the dialysis. Or maybe they have COBRA insurance. Okay. And I say COBRA insurance because they can't afford to, they can't go to work anymore, because dialysis is 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. Well, it's hard to maintain a full-time job doing that. So they may still have their insurance, but they can't afford their insurance premiums. So we may pay for the insurance or transportation or whatever it may be. Each family is individually analyzed and say, where can we help the most?
Right, right. And what we would like for you to truly understand, and I would like for you to understand, you know, there are many charities out there requesting, as Ed has mentioned, financial contributions and others. But as he has stated, and without saying, but you're familiar with, you know, if you have 97% of the dollar going to the actual service end, I mean, that's what you want, and that's what the American Kidney Fund does. It does not spend top dollars on top leaders and of the organization, and those are why the rankings of top 3 in the nation or the world, I'm not sure, but whoever was included in that survey. But that's why it's significant. I want you to walk away understanding that the American Kidney Fund is a safe organization for you to support.
Exactly.
And that's what that is all about, and what Ed has said, that you know that majority of your money will be going not for administrative purposes, not for the leaders, the corporate leaders, but they are going to help those in need. So I thank you for sharing that, and we want to make sure that you guys understand that and feel comfortable and safe in supporting them.
That is an important factor.
Yeah.
And of course, just to clarify too,
Sure.
how we support the American Kidney Fund.
Yeah.
We're the organization that calls people once or twice a quarter and says, you have any used clothes or household goods? And as soon as I say that, no matter where I go, people immediately say, oh yeah, I know you guys, you've been calling us for years, and we appreciate. People actually appreciate that call, because we're doing them a favor. We're picking up their household goods that they would otherwise either ride around in the trunk looking for a place to drop it off for weeks, or maybe just throw away. And in many cases, they just literally throw it away. So what we do is we'll call and say, you have any household goods or used clothing? And they'll, you know, oh yeah, when's the truck going to be here? Next week? Fine. And they'll just put the bags out front, and we'll pick them up and leave a tax receipt, which, by the way, you can go to our website also and build your own tax receipt, which is really nice, because then it's registered, it's online, 10 years later, 5 years later, whatever. If you need it, you just plug in your address and it'll pop up there. But what we do is we collect the used clothing and household goods. We sell it to thrift stores. Now, we happen to partner with Value Village.
Okay.
Value Village is a great partner and sponsor for us, because they buy everything by the truckload. They don't say, well, we'll take this and not that. They buy whatever it is, they buy it by weight. They buy the whole truckload. And then they figure out what to do with it. And if something isn't really good enough to go on the racks, well, that might go in the stack that gets turned into rags. The hangers that are left over, that gets put in with metals. We actually recycle. And people don't realize this is a kind of a fringe benefit of what we do. We recycle 120,000 pounds of clothes per week. 10,000 pounds of shoes, 5,000 pounds of metals. All of that goes through the Value Village. They do the separation. So they're really a good partner financially and also for the environment. And of course, the biggest benefit for people shopping at thrift stores is the people that can't afford retail. Although I have to say, I've run into a lot of people that can afford retail, but they look at it as a treasure hunt. They go weekly, sometimes daily. I mean, some people made a business out of it, but it's just amazing how you can find some. I know personally, my wife and I did a big purge a few years back. I think it was 2 years ago, and she was getting rid of this think it was a St. John dress, whatever. You know, I know they were expensive. It was just a pretty dress. And she said she was getting rid of it. I said, well, you sure? She said, nah, I'm not going to fit in that anymore. You know, everybody changes their shape a little bit. And I said, well, can't we hang it on the wall and just look at it? You know, I mean, it's such a pretty dress. And she said, no. Well, somebody probably got that dress for $20 or something, and which would be great for people.
And I'm glad you brought that out, because that is true. The American Kidney Services receives clothing that you could wear anywhere depending on the event. And so, and I say that because it gets into the thrift stores, and there have been many quality clothing that's there. But another thing you pointed out, that the Value Village, among the others, you know, they separate those, and so they don't sell things that, you know, you wouldn't want to wear. And so one thing that you said that I found amazing, and I want you to clearly hear what Ed said, and I don't know if you caught it, but Ed said that Value Village buys their truckload by the pound, pays them. Then they go through and sort out what is usable or not. So what they don't, in other words, they get the maximum amount of money regardless of what the conditions of the clothes are, whether they're great, whether they're poor. But American Kidney Services gets the maximum payout, and they still are able to go and help the American Kidney Fund perform. So now that was significant to me. You know, because again, it says regardless of the use, if they wanted to go and only give American Kidney Services the dollars for what is usable, it would be less, because you know some people. And that's what I was going to venture to guess, that it would be a lot less, because you know sometimes people are not like your wife, giving away great items. Sometimes they're cleaning out, and so cleaning out does not always equate to being usable. And so if that was the case, the truck has taken up space, and now that portion that is not usable, you don't get, because Value Village is not willing to pay you for it. But I'm amazed at that.
We're very pleased with our partnership with Value Village.
I'm going to go a little further with that, because I did find it interesting when we met. Actually, there was one of the representatives from Value Village with you, and at the event, and you know, and I didn't know what the connection was. You know, I figured they wouldn't be together if they didn't know what the connection was. But I understand, and you know, in the research, and I did find out that relationship. How long has that partnership been going on?
That I might have to get back with you exactly. I think it's from the 80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it goes back quite a few years.
Okay, I didn't know that, because I was very familiar with Value Village many years ago. Didn't know the relationship was there until, you know, you and I ran into each other, and then I began researching for the show. But what I want to do is I want to stop and get that nugget. You know, this is another nugget for you nonprofit leaders out there to understand. You know, you often hear me talk about on the show about not being in your silos and not operating in isolation, but it's the partnership and relationships that you develop. And this one, you know, I just see it as an ecosystem. We build our wardrobes, we wear our clothes. These clothing then are given to AKS, American Kidney Service. American Kidney Service gives them to Value City. Value City exchanges funds and lets American Kidney Service and the American Kidney Fund do.
Yeah, there's a lot involved in it.
Yeah, it's a big ecosystem. And what I want you guys to walk away with, those of you who are out there in the nonprofit sector, you're leaders of your organizations, understand how valuable that partnership is. Stop looking at the opportunity that you can do it yourself. Stop being afraid to step out and reach out, because the only thing they can say, you know, I growing up, you know, I'm the youngest of 6 children, and my parents divorced when I was 5, and so my relationship with my father was not always, you know, just a natural one of, hey Dad, you know, being in the house, I need this, I need that. So to ask Dad for something, it was a big deal, you know, and so there was a little fear in there. And so, you know, it's like, okay, well, what is he going to say? What is he going to say? But I distinctly remember one year, couldn't have been more than 7 years old, that something just came to me, clicked. He says the worst thing he can say is no. You know, and you won't be any worse off.
That's what made you become a salesperson? Or?
Well,
the worst people say is no. Okay, I didn't have to sell at first, and I don't have to sell now. Either way.
So I'm saying, take that example. AKS has gone and developed this relationship with Value Village that has definitely proven to be very valuable in terms of the overall.
Let me share a little challenge that we run into.
Yes.
Many people, if not the majority already, of people have dropped their home phone lines in the last few years.
Yes.
And I was one of them.
Yes,
Matter of fact, I when I dropped it, I didn't call everybody I know and say, "Oh, I dropped my home phone line. Just use my cell." And I had an uncle, in New Jersey, and I don't know. We talk once a month or so, and then he finally called me on my cell and said, "What the heck's going on? Didn't you pay your bill down there?" You know, I said, "I dropped my phone, the home phone line. I didn't think about it."
Right.
But so many people, and anybody under 30 or so, even under 40 probably never had it in the first place.
Right.
Well, that was our primary way of contacting people, was to call them, as like I just said, people, "Oh, you've been calling us for years."
Yeah.
So I'll go to a chamber meeting or Concerned Black or wherever it may be, and I'll say, what are people, the organization that calls up and says you got to use, "Oh yeah, they just cut me off right away." And they'll say, "But you haven't called me in recently. I know it's been a year or so." I said, "Did you drop your home phone line?" "Oh, yeah, that's it."
Yeah.
So we've been on kind of a mission to help people to help us again, because they didn't think about it, and we don't have a way of getting their cell phone.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, in the last year or so, people are easing up a little bit, and they're giving us and anybody really, their cell phone number, because it's the only number they have anymore. They use it for business, for home, for personal, whatever. So that was one of the challenges that we were facing, and we're doing better with that. My people are much better. They're responding. We're on TV. We go to meetings and so on.
Yeah, so let me tell you guys, we've been this segment has been so engrossing and very exciting, as you can see from both Ed and me just getting into this. But we are over our break, and so before we go to our break, I want you guys, and I'm admonishing those of you who follow us consistently, and those of you who may be seeing Let's Talk Nonprofits for the first time. Ed just mentioned something. He mentioned that there's been a disconnect, literally, of phone lines, and therefore that communication, that link to reaching others to contribute. I'm going to ask you to reach out to Ed, and before we go to the segment, I'm going to let him give the address, but I want you to reach out to him. Reach out to AKS, American Kidney Services. I want you to reconnect with them personally if you no longer have your phone line at home, but I also want you to send out a link and share this particular episode. And in the comment or your update position, I want you to tell them, call American Kidney Services and give them your phone number and reconnect so that you can begin again engaging. And if you've never engaged before, start engaging with American Kidney Services. We haven't gotten into the numbers, but when we come back and talk about the numbers, you're going to see why it's critically important that you do that. So Ed, before we go to the break, please provide them how they can contact American Kidney Services and give their contact information.
Well, our for a free pickup number is 770-441-2220. That's 770-441-2220. I want to look at it to make sure I say it right.
Great. So guys, again, I'm personally asking you to please take the time out, call that number, and reestablish your personal connection, but also spread it to your social media networks and have those connections to do the same. Thank you, and we will see you after the break.
What happens when soldiers come home? Brene Foundation offers hero support to ensure that our heroes abroad can continue to be heroes at home. We link veterans with organizations who are dedicated to guiding the transition from military hero to civilian hero. If you want to find out how you can support our troops at home, please contact the Brene Foundation or visit Brene.com.
Does your son need a more challenging, focused, and encouraging educational environment? Renaissance Christian Academy is an affordable private school for boys located in McDonough, Georgia, with certified teachers that are uniquely equipped to help your son master learning. You're welcome to schedule a tour of our facilities by calling 770-305-9881 or by visiting our website at rcaboysacademy.org. Renaissance Christian Academy, developing young men to be great leaders through Christ-centered learning.
Welcome back. We thank our sponsor, sipforyourcause.org, as well as our other supporters that you saw on the commercial break. We ask that you please reach out and support them so that we can continue great programming, great guests, great information. And so thank you again to sipforyourcause.org. We would like to continue by sharing some statistics with you. We've talked about what the Kidney Services does, American Kidney Services does, but let's talk about why they do it. Ed, what are some of the statistics?
Well, first of all, over 31 million Americans are affected by kidney disease to one degree or another. 31 million Americans. That's just amazing to think about those numbers. 9 out of 10 people that have kidney disease don't even know they have it.
Wow.
That's another one why it's so important to get screened for it.
Okay.
And of course, American Kidney Fund has Kidney Action Days. We have one here in usually around September or October.
Okay.
And you can get free screenings.
Okay.
But there's other events that are happening where you can get free screenings as well. 92,000 people have kidney failure and die every year. 92,000 people, or in the last year. And unfortunately, these numbers are not getting lower. They're getting higher, if anything. 430,000 people on dialysis. And as we mentioned before, dialysis takes 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. Yeah, it's almost impossible to keep a full-time job when you have that many hours out of your schedule.
Absolutely.
To do it. And it's not a simple process. I mean, you're sitting there and blood's running through. And unfortunately, I have met with, for example, one gentleman had a kidney transplant. He said that he actually saw 2 people die while they were on dialysis. Right? You know, you're in a room like chemotherapy or something, and it's just amazing to me. 15,000, over 15,000 people are on the kidney transplant list, but only it's not even close to that end up finding transplants or matches. So the numbers are staggering.
Absolutely.
And as a matter of fact, the numbers in the South and in Georgia in particular are even way higher than the national average.
And in fact, those Georgia numbers represent where 30 to 40% greater. Well, in fact, 30% of Georgia's mortality rate from the disease is there. But also there's a statistics that I read. I just mentioned Georgia's mortality rate from this disease is 30 to 40% higher than the national average. In Georgia, the chronic kidney disease is the 9th leading cause of death for Georgia residents. But one of the amazing things is this, and I think it may be with many diseases, but they were talking about the primary causes of chronic kidney disease: diabetes mellitus, type 1 or 2, but heart disease and high blood pressure.
High blood pressure and diabetes.
Yeah. I mean, and they say generally developed in people who are overweight, who are sedentary, not moving around. First Lady has the initiative about move, get up and move, with our young people, but we all need to move, and consume a diet high in cholesterol and fat. And so as Ed mentioned, you're talking about in Georgia, where that's the South. I mean, that's Southern cooking, that's that big fat bacon sitting up there. But really, the great part for me that gives me some degree of hope is that it is diet. It's what we put into our mouths and consume, which I know it's a hard thing for various people to change, but that's something that's doable. You can change what goes from that plate to the mouth. And so, I'm looking forward to helping in every way that we can to speak about that, because rather than looking at the lag indicator, which is the death, the mortality, and all of that, we got to begin looking at the lead indicator and talk about changing the diets, getting active. I mean, if we do those two things, that we can significantly impact those numbers.
Well, it's so environmental. You just get used to certain diets and so on. And we were talking on the break that I'm originally from the north. I've been here more than half my life, so I feel like I'm really an Atlanta person. But
you are.
But my wife is from here, born and raised here. And when we first got together 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, we've been married 20 years.
Congratulations.
Almost 21. Anyway, I used to tease her about her diet. I used to say, how can you eat all that bacon and this and that? And now I are one, as they say, Now I'm doing the same thing and don't even think about it. I want some bacon, do this, do that. But at minimum, if we're going to indulge like that, at least get tested. Make sure we don't have diabetes. Make sure our blood pressure is okay, and get screened for kidney disease. It only takes a second, and you can find out where it's happening. Go to the website, and you can find out information there too. But at least find out, because before it's too late, and then we can make adjustments along the way.
I'm going to go out on the limb. Ed and I haven't talked about this, and I know he definitely had. I know there are things that have to be done, but I am so convicted by this that I'm going to tell you to keep your eyes out on the www.sipforyourcause.org website. Go and visit and you'll get what it's about. But, I will work with that organization to work with the American Kidney Services for putting their information on that website to keep you abreast of just ways in which you can get tested, you can get screened, and again take part in the initiatives that will help prevent and spread the word. Spreading the word is probably the one most important thing that we can do. And so again, utilize the social media network to get the word out. Again, start by sharing this episode through your network, and again put in there the thing about calling the number to reestablish connection with American Kidney Services, but then link them to the website and stay abreast. Link them to the sipforyourcause.org website, and we will work out what's necessary to get that information flowing to that website as well. Let's continue. You were in Washington, D.C. Not too long ago, and actually it was a Kidney Action Day in Washington, D.C. Share that experience as best you can with me.
Well, it was a very good experience. First of all, a gentleman that has been on dialysis for 15 years that I met at the Kidney Action Day last year, which we held downtown by Underground Atlanta. John Lewis was there. I mean, it's a pretty big event, and there's entertainment, and there's again free screenings and all. But I met a gentleman that came over to us and said, "I've been on dialysis for 15 years, and I can't thank you enough for what you guys do. I live here. I know American Kidney Services, and I always donate himself." He said, but he has been receiving financial aid for many years, and he said, for example, one thing. It's important to have the research and development, obviously. He says, but when you get a check once a month or once a quarter that enables you to be able to live, literally, to pay for dialysis, or part of it, what the insurance doesn't pay for. He said it has such a great impact. Well, anyway, he was one of about 10 or 12 people across the nation that the American Kidney Fund invited to Washington, D.C. for the Kidney Action Day. And part of it was there were scheduled meetings with senators and Congress members to talk about funding and helping, develop better kidney resistance and so on.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, I think I might come up there if you're going to be up there too. And then with that, LaVarn Burton, the CEO of American Kidney Fund, called me the next day and said, well, Ed, I hear you're coming up. That would be great. Well, will you introduce Ron too?
Wow.
I said,
Wow.
well, sure.
Okay.
So it was quite flattering in a sense, because there were like 4 people that spoke. A congressman, a senator, LaVarn, and me.
Wow.
What am I doing here?
Yes.
But also 2 kidney patients, including Ron.
Okay.
So we're on the steps of Capitol Hill, and it was a good event. And we did meet with several. Matter of fact, for Georgia, Congressman Barry Loudermilk is up in the Cobb County area, and I personally met with. David Perdue, the new senator, the junior senator from Georgia now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I learned some statistics while I was there, while we were going around meeting with the members of Congress and Senate. And I just was staggering to hear these numbers. This, let me share with you, kidney research funding compared to other disease. Kidney research funding from the U.S. government, all right? Now, let me clarify one thing. We're not saying by any means take away from anything else.
Correct.
It's all important,
Correct.
whether it's AIDS, heart, cancer, whatever it is. We understand that. We're just trying to say let's look at the differences, and is there a possibility that we could reallocate a little bit or focus a little bit more on kidney disease? This is one of them. HIV/AIDS. There are approximately 1 million people in the USA with AIDS. Now, worldwide it's different. We're just talking USA because we're talking to the Congress and Senate. So there is approximately $2,890 per patient that's invested in research and development. Okay? Go down to cancer. There are approximately 14 million people with cancer, and there is number is $534 per person. Then you go down to Alzheimer's. There's approximately 27 million people with Alzheimer's. Now we're down to $100 per person. Heart disease, approximately 27 million people, $61 per person. Then you get down to kidney disease, 31 million people affected, and it averages about $24 per person.
Amazing.
So you're going from almost $3,000 a person that's affecting 1,000 people to $24 a person that's affecting 31 million. It just doesn't seem like the numbers are where they should be. Now, even if you multiply out the $24 times 31 million, because there's so many more people, well, it still doesn't even come close to what it is for AIDS and some of the others. So again, we're not saying that you shouldn't give money, put money there instead of here and all. Just saying let's find a way to help 31 million people, and it's the biggest number of all those major diseases.
Ed, I find that amazing. I thank you for sharing those statistics. And again, Ed has been clear. He's not asking the American Kidney Services, or not asking American Kidney Fund, is not asking that we limit those other areas in terms of ignoring them. But they are saying, listen guys, there are 34 million people out there compared to 1 million. And, I know the audience that listens, and I know you get the message. Spread the word, guys. Let's bring kidney disease to the table. Let's bring it to the forefront of our conversations. Let's bring it to the forefront of our donations. And again, with this, we're talking about clothing, other items, household items, and I'm sure on the website they can find out what absolutely can be noted. In fact, would you give that web address for them where they can go?
With our case, it's akspickup.org.
Okay.
Just make sure I'm doing it right here.
Yeah.
kspickup.org.
Yes.
Correct.
So go and find out, exactly what items you have in your home, and that you're willing to share with American Kidney Services and help them with this fight. And contact your senators and your representatives to bring this to their attention. Send them that communication to explain to them the disparity. Again, if you need to, send them this episode and share it with them so that they can hear directly from Ed what those numbers are, and let's put it on the table so that it too can get its I hate to use the word fair share, but just to get more attention, whatever that might be, to bring about a difference. I'm going to step out another. The American Kidney Services is a member of the Overground Railroad, where again, they focus on a relationship to try to get into the churches in the metro area to, again, bring about awareness, again, to bring about donation activities. I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Ed and his team with the AKS and see about establishing a relationship with your religious organization, your community service organizations. And, there's a bend, Ed just talked about the donation piece and that pickup. For me, it's the most convenient way, but there are other ways. As he's mentioned, you got Value Village to make the donation spot.
You can go to Value Village. Any Value Village is a donation location as well. We do have approximately 400 bins throughout the whole metro Atlanta area. But we also are in several recycle centers.
Yeah.
Sandy Springs, Keep North Fulton Beautiful, I think it's called, but it's in the Sandy Springs area. We have another one in Snellville, so we have big trailers out at those locations. We also have a big trailer at North DeKalb Mall. And a couple of other malls, Arbor Place Mall, we have a truck there. And again, a few other locations as well. So, whether it's the home or the bins or the recycle centers or in the parking lots, we have a number of places where you can donate. And, one of the good parts about it is that we're not asking for money.
Correct.
So if you're used to, say, well, gee, I have a special affection toward heart disease or cancer, do whatever you're doing there. That's okay. Just we're doing more or less a service. We're picking up things that you don't want anymore, and that's turning it into something that's positive and becomes financial aid for people.
So again, I'm asking you to get with your organizations, and as you're doing your initiatives, as you're doing your walk, and you do all these other things, begin to include the donation drives and have it a part of what you do. Take those pictures, put it on your website, spread it out to your social media network so that people can see you're engaged in donating to American Kidney Services, so that they too can find a way to begin to make a difference. Ed, well, I tell you, it has been great. Before we go, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
Well, just to summarize, the fact is, when you do this, when you donate your used clothing, household goods, you're helping kidney patients.
Yes.
And that's you're doing yourself a favor in a sense too, because you're getting to purge and get rid of things that you really don't want anymore. But you're helping kidney patients. Yeah. It's tax deductible. That's a major factor there. So, when I've seen tax receipts for as much as $400 and something, because the young lady went online and she did do a lot, I'll grant it, but she itemized every item. And even on our website, there's a valuation chart where it gives approximate accepted values of dresses and shoes and so on. And if it's an everyday thing, if it's an expensive thing. So, that's another thing. It's tax deductible. It's a free service. Why not take advantage of it? It's a free service. You're helping the environment. Let's not forget the factor of 120,000 pounds of clothes per week. Yeah. And the other thing I would just reemphasize what you just shared is this: like us on Facebook. Yeah. We haven't been as good at that as we are going to be. But we want to get out to the social media as well, and this is certainly one of the ways to do it. And we very much appreciate the opportunity to come on here and
we're honored,
share the information.
Well, we're honored and we're grateful that you've given us an opportunity to help in this small way. But we look forward to continuing to develop this relationship and help spread the word. So again, we thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Nonprofits. We hope that you guys had an opportunity to gain some nuggets. We didn't get much into Ed's board lessons to share, but we'll have him back on so he can discuss those things so that you who are board members can find out, you know, what is the best practice or what are some of the best lessons learned from Ed about how to make an effective nonprofit organization function. So again, thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Nonprofits, and we ask that you continue to spread the word, not just about kidney disease, but all of the issues and the social concerns that we have out there. So until next time, this SIP's for you.